Kyle Kinnis and Raman. Raman didn't come out today, so. But and a PRD on Office Space if anybody didn't actually get that. The end. Scott and I realized last night that we actually didn't introduce ourselves when we opened this conference. I'm John Criswick.
And you just introduced me, sort of, so that was good.
And then Scott Simpson. But I think we kind of thought, and I thought most people probably already recognize us from last year. And the genesis of all this was, if we go way back in time, Scott and I had been talking about doing a game summit in Ottawa for quite a while. And then we launched last year, thanks to Kim Gibson and OMDC. She was here.
People just don't know when to be in the room. Kyle! Kyle McKinney!
There he is. I left the door open last night. That's a magnet can turn joke.
So that's why the cops came. The cops came to the after party last night. That's the important thing that people need to know.
For real?
Yeah, for real. But it's because Kyle left the door. That magnet goes away.
And then, the difference between last year and this year is that we did a segue to a more commercial kind of scenario. So we didn't take any funding from any government organization like we did the previous year. First year was about maybe $60,000 that was provided to help launch things, but we were told that that was it, and that we had to operate on our own and move this thing forward on our own. And some differences between last year and this year in terms of cost. So I'm here to announce that I'm launching a men's jacket line called R3 Limited. There's an actual story, or a reason why I'm saying that. I have no idea at all about the men's fashion industry, and
No!
I like to wear these cool jackets. So I thought, why don't I just launch a company? And the reason why I can think that is because I got this great management team that allows me to operate a lot of things. So I currently have 14 companies on the go. And my goal, and Susan's looking at me confused, my goal by the end of the year is to have 20 companies. But so it allows me to do something like actually encapsulate Ottawa Game Conference into an operation that we ran out of Magnic's office and move that sort of thing forward because we have the infrastructure in place. Okay, but back to the men's line. How would I best understand that market? And the easiest way, how do I enter that market? The easiest way is to find a trade show or a conference, go to it, and learn from the conference. So one aspect about running a conference or going to a conference is you can use a conference to get yourself into a new industry or new space that you want to move into. The other thing about, so flip to the other end of it, the other thing about conferences is that they have parties, but the parties aren't there really to have fun. The parties are there to make connections between people, and especially business type connections. And so one aspect of OIGC is to learn, and the other aspect is to network. And all conferences are like that. And I think we did a really good job this year of manifesting connections. Forget about the clothing line thing. So moving on. That'll come out later this year. My girlfriend's in the front row watching me for some reason. She's never seen me speak in public before. So GDC is the main conference that everybody goes to in this industry. And Ottawa's actually kind of not well suited for sending people there because every flight we do has to go either through, to get to San Francisco, it has to go through Toronto or Calgary or something like that. So it's actually a 12-hour ride down there. Sending an employee from Magnic to GDC costs us around $3,500, anywhere between $3,000 and $4,000 to get down there. And it also, you have to include that when you're sending someone, you're losing the first day and you're losing the last day. So if I'm going to a conference in San Francisco for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I actually have to send, or if I'm sending someone to that, I have to send them on a Sunday and they return on a Thursday, and both of those days are pretty much over right now. However, and so what I'm trying to do here, and what we're trying to do here in Ottawa is do it here instead, so you don't, the companies sending people to these conferences don't lose those 2 days. They don't have to pay travel, they don't have to pay for food, they don't have to pay for hotels. The cost is substantially reduced. So you're comparing something that's $4,000 to something that's $400. So why conference in Ottawa?
Why not conference in Ottawa, John?
Why not?
Why not?
So, and I'm going to be five to 10 minutes, because just so you know, because I just speak kind of monotonically.
So there won't be
I know that has a certain kind of effect on people. And I'm just going to have a beer.
Get the beer.
So, I said this on the radio yesterday, on All in a Day, kind of, I think. I can't remember what exactly I said, but I've been in this industry for about 12 years, and it's just been frustrating to see Ottawa's always sort of on this cusp of something great. And so I thought, and I think Scott and everybody agrees probably, but it's kind of a catch-22. You get to a certain point of industry size before you need to legitimize it to the world, and one way to legitimize it is through a conference. And we noticed that last year, or I noticed anyways, that once we've done the conference, the word's starting to get out that Ottawa is on the map, and I think that we did a really good job this year. Also with that, so there was a whole lot more press this year, and things going out in the newspapers and TV and radio all about this conference. ESAC chose to launch their industry survey, so if anyone made it this morning to see that, ESAC chose to launch that survey at OIGC, and so we're hoping to, obviously in years to come, that those types of activities start to happen more often. We chose to launch Ottawa Game Fund at OIGC as well, and that also a little bit of sort of synergy and me pushing to allow us to announce it, but to help legitimize Ottawa industry even further. But yeah, I think a game conference puts us on the map, and now we can go out and talk to more companies, and more companies have heard about us, and we can augment the business that's going on in the city. Notwithstanding that a lot of the people that came to this conference, speakers included, were doing business meetings with other companies in town, and companies here, trade show, and so I'm trying to wrap this up. So what we tried to do this year was increase it a little bit in size. Last year was one day, it ran from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We compressed everything into that day and ran a party at the end of the night. This time we added a workshop day. We turned that 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. into 2 days, and I think it's 4 tracks with spotlights each day. We brought in last year 20 speakers. This year we brought in about 50. And personally, I tend to aim for the stars and end up in the sky somewhere. And so I was aiming for about 800 people, but I think what we realize is that it is about a 500-person conference, and we'll grow it from there. It'll take a bit of time to grow it, but we'll grow it from there and make it a 800 to 1,000-person conference.
To be fair, you originally said 1,200.
I think, yeah, 12. I say 12. I'm always optimistic. Let's see, I'm skipping around here. But I'd say quite a success. So while everybody's here, I just want to put out kudos and thanks to the people that organized it. Sebastian Prevost, thank you. Shortly to take over moderating this, and then also Jennifer Scott. That's something we did honestly. So that's some people on, well, Sebastian on full time for about the last 8 months or so, 7 to 8 months, and then and then people on full-time staff as we ramped up to production of this. The other thing was we did cut a lot of stuff. We had a lot of good ideas, and so a lot of well, like we were going to do video games live, so we had that all set up to actually happen, and the executive producer of that was bought in, and we just decided at the end we needed to cut back a bit and taper things back. But there's a lot of other stuff that we can do here, and sort of Ottawa traditional style. We turned the conference into a festival, and so like tomorrow there's a game tournament called Ottawa's Got Game at Museum of Aviation if anyone wants to stick around or take part in that. It's a StarCraft and Call of Duty tournament. That too is a spin-out of the conference. We turned that into a company called Esports North, and we're going to do quarterly tournaments with that company. Yeah, I think that was what I was saying.
That is remarkably close to me.
But so, and then
enough.
when you're running, so the last comment, when you're running an event, you do, like, you see everything that's either happening or not happening, but then I imagine that what people have seen as attending this event is, I hope, hopefully awe, or like that they think it was awesome. So it is a major undertaking and a lot of stress between the four of us to make this happen. And my girlfriend, also Sarah, and business partner, ran the party last night. So that was actually we'll hold that off for a bit longer. Yeah, I'm going to bring Carla up here and to moderate this panel. So Scott Simpson, Sean McFedrin, and Jean-Sylvain Ceremonies, we've all been involved in different capacities in making this happen. We're here to answer people's questions. Anyone has advice, anyone wants to offer up to take part in organizing the next year, and any suggestions, any of that. Carla's going to take over and ask questions to us mainly, and if you have any questions, drill us with them. Thank you.
Sums up pretty much what we did. So what we tried to do last year and how we brought it to this year. So one of the questions, the interesting thing was last year we had a stack of speakers, not necessarily spread out in different tracks, and then this year we actually made tracks. And a very interesting thing, the indie track was one of the most popular tracks. People were standing in the back of the rooms almost every single session. So that's really interesting. So maybe you guys want to talk about the choices of the tracks and why we went with those. And we're thinking, are we going to bring more next year? Are we going to have, an art track and an audio track, things like that? So
I will only note that it's not like this is the only chance you have for feedback. Obviously there will be a thing, but this is the chance you have for direct feedback. So that would be a good time to make sure that these things are heard. My answer is a question for the crowd. So say I was mostly around the business track. The question is that useful or not? Because to the point, it's how many people register for the indie stuff or to actually learn about real things. That's great. But we did have a business track because it's a seemingly natural thing to have in any conference that you're dealing with commercial endeavors. Hey, how can we actually raise money, spend money, do different things? So one of the questions I would have to the crowd, of this makeup of crowd, how many people went to, say, more than one of the tracks that were actually offered? Like, did you actually bump around, or did you stay solo and everybody sort of bumped around? Which I think was the hope. You cross-pollinate and do different things. But business track, I specifically wonder, was that useful to anybody who went to business track sessions? Like, is it good, bad, or other?
Yeah, it was exceptionally helpful. Absolutely.
Wow, exceptionally helpful. Yeah. I was not expecting that. I was expecting very helpful.
Okay.
But exceptionally helpful, that's okay. Anyway, so that was, anyway, it's not like, I'm just curious. I think it was good. I think it was fine to actually have the stuff out there. I think we covered a lot of good stuff business-wise.
And to add to your point, the indie track is very popular because we have a very, very vivid, active indie community to Dirty Rectangles and what they're doing, and a little bit of the fact that the Ottawa gaming industry is, well, or the academic are training so many people and new grads that it makes the indie community naturally something growing. And I think it's something that we can't ignore. So there's definitely going to be a place for the indie every year because it's a very active group in Ottawa. And I think it's great to see this because this is eventually what will help like our industry growing. So that's great.
How many people are indie developers, like part of a team that's, even if it's like in spare time?
You're asking this while there was like a technical
Yeah,
side where
it's-
half of the indies are.
Because I think that the reason that I think that the business track is so important is that, like, you can have an indie track and still not talk about marketing monetization. Like I thought one of the most valuable sessions I went to was making a trailer. Like that, if you make a, if you make a game, the cheapest and easiest thing to do marketing is to make a trailer. Right? Because you don't have money to market it. So things like that. I wonder. I just want to get a sense of like, do people find things like marketing? Is that a pretty useful track? Because I wouldn't mind running a marketing.
I'm seeing a general murmur and no.
Marketing is super important. I mean, why do you make a game if you can't market it? If nobody.
But there's a difference also between, is marketing important? The answer is yes. Is it important to try to cover it and show that there aren't the natural answer should be yes, but it also could be, nah, I don't come to a conference for that. I come to a conference for something else. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think.
Well, because when I went to GDC, and I've only been like once, but I didn't feel that there was a large. As a marketing guy, I didn't learn much to help me. I learned a lot about game development, but I didn't learn how you go and at least my
So then maybe we could market those tracks towards the indies too, that should go to the marketing ones and the business ones, because naturally, if you're indie, you're going to go to the indie track or something. But then if you're indie and you're a programmer, maybe you don't know how to market your game. Maybe you don't know how to do these things. Maybe we can put, next year a larger effort in marketing, like our tracks to what's the good things that are going to come out of it.
I want 12 tracks next year.
12?
But I am aspirational the other way. 12
Bring
tracks.
in more staff?
No.
Okay.
Smaller
very
rooms.
small track.
Actually, let's do about 100 tracks. Rooms will have 5 chairs apiece.
All right. Yeah.
I just had a comment about multiple tracks, and I think this might echo with everyone. I'm stunned that there's no audio or video recording because we can't attend all of them at the same
Oh,
time.
hey, good feedback.
I'm sure that everybody here would be willing to purchase a DVD or an iTunes album or
Yes.
stuff.
Okay, we can do this whole show again. On the weekend, we can fake it like moon landings. Do it up just like it all happened. And get everything. That is actually, why didn't we? We
Well,
recorded last
actually,
year, right?
so there was a team. There were 2. And they did record some of the sessions, so we're going to hopefully be able to put those sessions as soon as the content gets edited onto the website.
Is that the big blaster guys? What was the name of the? Okay, of course they're not here. Mildly ironically.
Yeah, they're right there. You guys are right there. What's the name?
Just push play.
Just push play.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're going to do that. So clearly they weren't able to attend all the sessions because we did have 4 tracks and running at the same time. But some of the content will be there.
But still, so but for next year, it would be something that we would look at saying, yeah, because it came up from a few people, even some of the speakers were saying, I hope it's being recorded. A lot were saying, I'm glad it's not. A lot were saying, because they're going to be going back to wherever they're going to go. So that would, yeah, absolutely is something.
Is there any more questions?
I was just wondering if you guys thought about having a game jam for next year? Kind of.
The problem with game jams is that there is already other game jams happening in the city. So you need to find a setup with computers. You need to have like the specific setups. And there's other game jams. There's actually 2 or 3 other game jams that is happening toward the year. So doing a specific game jam during the conference when there is also parties where we're inviting people and dividing the attention doesn't sound like the right thing. We couldn't do it before or after. It's something that we could explore. I think there was a discussion about it. It's just that every time we had those discussion, it leads to, well, it's very close to this other game jam. Like there's one happening in January. It's very close to the IGA Global Game Jam. That's one of the reasons why we didn't go to adding the game jams to the agenda.
We were also way too close to Toe Jam, which, see, that's my shut-in. But also, my favorite thing, and damn it, I want to do it next year, because we really would like to have done it this year, just couldn't can happen, is the related thing, which would be the putting out as a mini jam, if you will, to go out, have some people create some games, do pitch sessions, pitch to a panel of publishers and stuff, wheedle them down to 10, and wheedle them down to 3, and do a best of show, and they win like $1 million.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It would be great. I'm pretty much guarantee nobody's going to win that. They'll all be second place. But we really would like to do it, but it does involve a lot of, that is a lot more outside the realm of what we need to do, but next year.
But to some extent also, we had the demo zone upstairs to show what was happening in the region, and it's a little bit in this idea, so we can showcase what's going on. So and a lot of people were invited to demo their you could see like what was going on in Montreal Education Lab with a couple of products, a couple of interesting showcases.
And even for us who are pretty deep in the local industry, there's still some things upstairs I had no idea were happening, and they're really impressive. Like there was some knowledge happening. I learned the show.
That's awesome.
I then killed every brain cell I had. But I learned.
Thank you.
And maybe to just add to that, so Ernest Adam did a game design workshop actually, who was that was kind of the idea. So they broke up, they broke out into teams, and then they designed these games. Didn't actually create them. They came up with the idea. So it was a pen and paper session, and it was very successful, and great ideas came out of it. So yeah, so we, things like that are sort of happening too. So, any other questions?
Just a comment from a student that doesn't want to wait the whole year again. Have you guys ever thought about having this twice a year or anything like that? So we did a party that's halfway there.
The 1.5.
I don't know if
There's no way it's going to.
it's so much work that it's hard to do. But I think that like we've talked, there were discussions about like doing monthly, just casual, like people getting together at a bar, and just where there's building a space, and obviously Jonathan's part of it. Having a place where people just kind of get together once a month, and there's maybe there's a set agenda where there's one speaker, or it might just be a casual discussion. Where people can just network, but at least there's a physical nexus where people can get together.
We went in, just before we get to the next, but we originally were trying to work with Invest Ottawa to try to do some things around the digital media community to grow something. And it actually didn't go very far, very fast. And a lot of it is because there was not a central thing like the conference to kind of draw from. I firmly believe that's true. But when we eventually came out, and actually I think, Sean, we were out in a drunken haze one night, and it became the whole point of we couldn't get the community together enough. Much like Dirty Rectangles had their monthly show and tell, IGA has their regular meetings. From the business side of the gaming business, there wasn't much. The show was really pretty much about it. But moving to a place where you're just doing it once a month, casual bar thing, look, I can get to a bar once a month. So I will actually attend these things. We're going to just sit and drink and shoot the shit and talk about stuff. But if we do it under the guise of it's actually about business and it's focused, generally focused, does that even make sense, generally focused? There is at least something relatively specific. I can't even say.
Well, I think they
Neither of these things make sense. Generally focused and relatively specific.
Have you been to their events? No, because they're really
Yeah,
good.
but I'd like to also add, and that's one of the thing we're working on. The IGDA, I just received lately a couple of emails of people that are willing to help the community, and this is an invite that I'm sending to every one of you. So you can find me on the web somewhere, but if you want to get involved, that's one of the objectives we want to do, is having more of content and not just programmer contents, but having like all around meetings that will address both the marketing people, both the business people, and we want to be able to, eventually our objective is to have monthly meetings as the Dirty Rectangle, but the Dirty Rectangles targets really the indie community. We want to have something that targets more the entire professional. So we already have like place to do the things, we already have budgets, that's just a question of organizing those meetings and having the industry. So if you want to get involved, please let me know. We're working towards this.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that also all the speakers are on the website with their LinkedIn information and all that stuff. So, if you guys have ideas, it's the time and it's the platform to do it, So just shoot them an email, shoot them a LinkedIn message, and that's how we'll get things rolling, I think. Question?
Well, just to add on to that, what we were saying, I come from a conference background, and I work with a couple of really conferences. What they do to keep momentum and help advertising. Instead of doing an event twice a year, they'll do a mini event, like a one-day event in a smaller location, a much smaller scale. That always seems to work very, very well for them. There's a few in Ottawa that do it. I also do both the Ottawa and Montreal Comic-Cons, and they both do it. It's just an idea for you guys to think about. Instead of like doing a big thing every twice a year, one big one or tiny one.
Yeah, when we did that, I sent out an email on Eventbrite using the list from last year's conference, it was a little 1.5 party we did. And I think in 24 hours, we had 140 people or something registered.
And we had like 100 capacity.
Yes. They're usually very successful. Like I know they don't pull up with the 1,000 normally do, but they usually get a couple of thousand out for that. Also, another thing I don't know if you guys are aware of it, there's Ottawa Girls have an event every single month, which the girls out there definitely are checking out.
We need to combine those events a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep. You have a question? Yes.
Oh, well, I refuse to ask a question.
Okay.
I'm going to make a statement.
Make a statement.
And it's just in Toronto, the IGDA events, IDGA, they do monthly speakers and all like that. You should talk to the guys who organize that one.
Yeah, I'm waiting for some days.
Okay.
Which would be the problem is it's more
100% clear. JS is the head of Ottawa City.
Yes, no, I know. I'm saying if you.
To be honest, the only problem is the amount of involvement because I can't run the show alone. So,
Yeah.
but that's why here I'm telling you, it's up to you to help me organize those things. And if the community is behind me, it's going to be super simple because I have the need to help you finding the place, finding the right speakers, finding things. I think it's good to be something beneficial for everyone.
The best. Like, the Toronto ones are phenomenal, and everyone in Ottawa will do
So
that.
help me to do this.
Well, I'm not. You guys are around. But I'm just saying it's good.
Yeah.
Do it.
Andy's an older by nature.
Question at the back.
Yeah, I was just wondering how well the developer day did. Are you planning on doing that next year?
So we did 3 events on Wednesday, and the third event actually we pieced together 24 hours before we announced it. But definitely want to do that again. So they were well attended in the end. I think the game design workshop with Ernest was about 30 to 40 people. There was a Windows workshop around 20 people, and we did this data workshop that Joost Van Troelen did. That's my best Dutch impersonation, but he did that. We were going to do that internally at MagMake, and so I confirmed with him that we'd do it at MagMake if we couldn't do it as a data workshop. So I'm going to add something to this, just so people are aware. Little teeny sort of step in the direction that we want to go with this is the Dutch Embassy sponsored, co-sponsored that data workshop. So we were trying to piece together actually a Dutch flavored workshop. And there's a company called Distimo, if anyone's heard of it. We were trying to get Distimo plus Joost and others to do a whole series during the day. But the thing is cool about Ottawa is it's full of embassies, and embassies have money to bring people, and Mercury Lounge uses that scenario to bring artists into town and help bring them across the country, actually. And especially with the Dutch Embassy, they're really forefront and in that manner. So we approached them about the game conference, said, do you have any funds that could help us bring in speakers and companies? And not only that they provide funds, they're helping us connect with all the other embassies in town. So hopefully next year we'll be having more of that kind of international flavor, where the German embassy helps bring in someone like Karsten, and the Dutch embassy is involved in bringing those people in and so forth. That's something that we can do a lot better than any other conference, just because of the proximity to all those embassy people wanting to establish business opportunities between their countries and Canada.
Yeah, probably that with Holland, though, all those half-baked ideas all come out of the Dutch. I'm turning it around to 20 people, sorry.
So,
Right, so I think we have time for one more question, and then we're going to wrap up. Or we're going to wrap up now, maybe. Yeah, absolutely.
okay, well, the price. So the price was always seemed to be an issue for some people at the beginning. and we'll deal with that. So this place is obviously, we put it out there at the beginning, this place is really expensive that you're sitting in. And last year, I think, for example, and this year, Wi-Fi, $45 per device per day. And so in the top end of it, your fee, for the fee that we put at the top end of $495 for a full day, or sorry, for the full conference, you know, $90 of that would have just gone in Wi-Fi. The other thing last year was about $50 to $60 per meal. So it's very expensive to do anything here once they get you in here. So obviously next year we're going to be trying to do something elsewhere.
And there was a lot of thought to do that this year. Just it's tough to actually try to do anything like eating outside or eating at a place that isn't here. It's really difficult to get people to go out and come back in. One of the greatest parts of the plant at some point, it was Majors Hill Park with the tent and live music and lunch would be out there because people would never come back. Assuming it's a nice day, and if it's a shitty day, nobody's going to want to go there for food, so we can't do that. But that's why the setup was with the, you know, the pass thing with the little cafe thing or whatever, but there's not a lot of ways around. There's no one here from the convention center. The problem is that, yeah, everything costs ridiculous amounts of money, and you can't bring anything in, so which is probably why we can't do our drink. We're still outraged, we're not doing it. Anyway, but you can't bring it. It's not like we can order 70 pizzas and bring them in, because, but convention person, Superman.
This is the first convention I've ever attended where you guys have actually paid for food outside of staff. And I've been to Macworld, the tickets for the same price as they provide food for us. Stuff like that. You guys like treat your people amazingly well here. So I don't know if that's something you guys want to take into consideration.
So you're saying we should treat people?
Absolutely.
I agree with that. That's why I make sure that we're.
Yeah. No.
But it all comes down, as John said, it all comes down to the thing where, look, we can be pretty explicit about the cost. And to be fair, I think the $45 for Wi-Fi goes down to 37 or whatever if you get more than 100 people per day. Quite a bargain. But again, it's not like we can bring in, you know, do roaming hotspots and put up our own Wi-Fi towers and just shut them down. So you're stuck. And so it's we either ad hoc it and say, yeah, you're $495 for the conference, plus add Wi-Fi, $70. People think we're gangsters. We're not gangsters.
Yeah, sure.
We're only the pimps. No, what do we mean? We're the worst victims.
Just a super quick comment about the food situation. A lot of us are actually stuck with the Monopoly money because they closed down. And the real food court is 5 minutes from here and there's a tunnel to it, so the food is completely not factored, at least in my opinion.
That's a good point.
Good point.
Good work.
Okay, last one.
All right, so from year 1 to 2, the conference grew a lot. Are you guys happy with the scope of it now, or are you maybe thinking like 3 days next year, or do you want to take the 2-day concept and just refine it?
I'm pretty happy with what's there. I think the shortest version is we would always want to do more, try to do more, but we're not going to, as John was saying earlier, we have a 500-person conference. We can't unnaturally put it to 1,000 by going to 3 days or anything. We did get a bump this year, last year, 400, whatever we used it. But if we wanted to go to 3 days, it would be more like, hey, it's not a $500 conference anymore, it's a $700 conference. And it's not just because we need the extra room per day, but we got to fly in more speakers, pay more stupid price for food, or whatever it is that we can actually do. All the costs just keep going up. So moving it extra days is probably not economically interesting because, as I said, we've got a lot of, I would call it, linked feedback on the price. It should also be noted this is not intended to be a profitable enterprise. And in fact, is very much not a profitable enterprise. It is very much there to attempt to be a break-even enterprise. But that means we would have to charge more money, which looks like we're being greedy, but it's not. We just like not to lose loss.
I confirm. I think that the idea, and we'll confirm in the next few weeks, but the idea is to try to keep this format that we have right now, refine it so we have more people, room are more full, we have like, and then when we're going to be able to say that we reach that point that we're full capacity, then we may end up with a little bit more.
I have a question for you, which is the timing of sessions or something. Again, it was very, last year, as John said, we also got some pretty good feedback last year. The conference went from 7 to 7, which was kind of phenomenal. And so so this year, it's very much, obviously, there's the keynotes in the morning, and then most of the stuff is jammed in the afternoon, but that's more gamer hours, or I think that's the polite way of saying gamer hours. But do people like that or not? Like, that's a very big question we have, is it too late in the day? Does it go too late, or does it should?
I thought it was perfectly fine. The only thing that I thought was different from last year was that last year there was kind of a bit of more of an announcement of when the speeches were actually, or convocations were actually, like.
So there's an announcement on which?
So what's that?
On who's speaking? Oh, who's speaking when?
Yeah, like when the conferences were actually happening. Obviously, there's a big schedule, and we have our phones, and we should know the time and when that. It's just there was no.
A
Like,
lot of that was Scott yelling, though, I think, last year.
That's true.
I was missing the yelling. That's it.
Oh, that's true. Oh.
So I'm just saying.
And I'll add that a lot of people did notice that there was not a lot of times between. Sometimes it was like you were ending a talk and you were going like straight to the other one, so there was no time for in between. The people were running because one was late and missed the beginning of the other one. So it's something that we're going to try to take into account next year. Having a bit more talks.
Right. Well, I said it was the last question, but are you guys good to answer a few more? Yeah? Okay. So let's go with Kyle McInnes at the back. You have a question?
Maybe something quick, maybe next year we can partner with one of the many local app companies and get a conference app together.
That's what the board does. Because we can change it on the fly when we decide to cancel.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
The fun part of that thing, we'll give you a little inside baseball information or anything. The schedule went up and we all looked at it yesterday, and there was the opening remarks today, and none of us knew what that was. Like, no, you won't find a single person here who says, yeah, I knew what that was, and it changed. So somebody put that in there and won't admit it. But there was never any content plan, so it just showed up as a thing. So we canceled the nothing, which means we created something. No, I just cut and paste.
There was a big empty space.
So cut and paste thing from one day to another, I know. But it's not like the other. So that's your fun fact.
Then we had one more question. Yeah.
I just want to comment, I know that you're talking about how there's no time really between everyone speaking. I know that I missed Keith, the one of the I've come here, but I know I missed the whole session.
Yeah, and that's something we're acknowledging, and next time it's going to. There was another question from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, with like a later start time or things like that, like, this would be somewhat predicated on having Wi-Fi, but having like a co-working space set up where, you know, we can see what each other are working on, and like play my game space and things like that. Not to detract from getting people to exhibit, pay a little bit extra to exhibit, but some time where we can actually share what we're working on in a more random setting where you have your computer, which you can't do out at the party, as great as the party is.
I think, so I have one question for everybody. If there was an award show, like a Canadian, say there was like an Ottawa Gaming Awards, and then a Canadian, so we did like a two-tier thing, would people care and like want to enter that? If there was like a minimal fee to enter your work? And
do you know there's a Canadian one?
What's that?
Vancouver
We
is.
can do it.
Vancouver is.
Oh,
Please speak something a little more local.
Like I'm just thinking, like, I mean, it's, you know, last night was great, and it's often, the party's always greater if there's people that are celebrating for more stuff. And it would be great to like.
I don't know if it's true. Frankly, I don't think that's true. Actually, but no, it's staring us in the face, people. We have it sponsored by Invest Ottawa, and we call them the Indies.
I don't get that, but I laughed at it.
I also.
All right. Well, thank you guys, and thanks founders and Scott. You have something else to add? Party. Okay, so the party. Actually, you know the details.
After we are going to leave this session and not stop. Go direct to the short club downstairs at the West End from now till 8. Then at 8 o'clock, you will take whoever is there and we'll go on mass to Mercury and we will drink our faces up. Well, we will drink our faces mildly off to start. Then when we get to the Mercury Lounge, though, shit comes completely off. Then there will be a very hardcore splinter cell that's going to go off and do Korean karaoke at midnight. But some people will just stay drinking, and some people will be passed out, and Sebastian's going to be passed out.
Yeah, he's already passed out.
And we will take it to the dome. Anyway, that's what's happening, so, yeah. And, yeah, it's not like sponsored, it's not a sponsored event, or else we'd have to charge about $1,000 in order to recoup our alcohol costs. Oh, maybe that was just me. Anyway, so yeah, but please come and bitch and moan or whatever with us over drinks.
So-
Now and so forth.
We will be sending out a survey to all of the attendees, so you'll have more like room to express your how you liked the conference, what you didn't like, and all your feedback will be very much appreciated. This is one last comment, and then we're wrapping up. I swear.
You're keeping me from my beer.
Yes.
Now, I don't know, it's just like a funny idea because some of my friends didn't get to go to parties last night, and I don't know if this is true, but maybe the alcohol that we all drank free was part of our purchase ticket. Is that, like, if that's true, maybe we have like a separate ticket that it's like, okay, whoever's not going to go to the party, buy this ticket, who's going to go to the party, buy this more expensive ticket.
That's true. See, look at that, ending on a high note. Good idea.